what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. First and foremost, I hope you guys had a good Father's Day and got to spend some time with your family. But hopefully you're getting back now and you can kick back and relax and listen to some bodybuilding news. So the first story that I've got for you guys today, the Empro Classic. A lot of people are looking forward to this show. It wrapped up really this morning. The prejudging was like 3 in the morning Eastern time. So it's kind of a wonky schedule there if you were trying to watch it here in the States. Now, the result was not surprising. Michal Krizo picked up the win here. In second place, you had Andrea Presti. In third place, you had Wellington Baptista. In fourth place, you had Jose Manuel Munoz. And in fifth place, you had Roman Fritz. So I think the main takeaway from this Empro Classic was clearly Michal Krizo looked incredible. Honestly, I think he looked significantly better here than he did at the Olympia. If we're talking about conditioning, he looked significantly more ripped than he did at the Olympia. And I think, honestly, of all the pro shows he's done so far, the show that he did to qualify for the Olympia, and even his the Olympia Amateur that he did to win his pro card, I think out of all of those looks, I think this is the best we've seen Michal Krizo look in the IFBB Pro League. And I think this goes to show that the updates that we saw from Krizo were accurate. We saw some updates at a couple days out from the show where he looked incredibly conditioned. He was showing these back shots where he had these, really separated hamstrings, striated glutes, this detail in his lower back. He looked like he was in really good shape, and it turned out he was. I think probably, like I said, the best shape he's been in since he's been in the Pro League. This was an incredible version of Krizo, and I think left a lot of people impressed. And after watching the replay of both prejudging and finals, I think Michal Krizo was the clear, far and away winner at both of them. Clear as day winning prejudging, clear as day winning finals. Overwhelming size. I mean, that's the thing that we kind of always have liked about Krizo. He's got this crazy, just freakishly round, gigantic arms. Probably some of the best arms in the Pro League right now. Probably one of the best front double biceps in the Pro League right now. And he's just a mass monster. He's a big, freaky-looking guy. And we see all these Instagram updates of how big and crazy he looks. And we know that he's big on stage. We know that he can hold his own with the current IFBB pros from a size standpoint. And now we got to see that overwhelming size at this Empro Classic with really pretty good conditioning. For a guy of Krizo's size, he was in really good shape. And I think now, going into the Olympia, I think there's going to be more of a conversation around Krizo because I think he really showcased his potential more at this Empro Classic. And now he is qualified after this victory. And I think now maybe a lot more people are going to be talking about Krizo as a top 10 contender, even though he finished outside of the top 10 last year. I think now that he's shown that he can get in really good shape, this type of conditioning, or better, hopefully better, at the Olympia, I think is really top 10 material. And this is just some of the best detail I think I've seen from him. He's got these huge legs, and I think he had arguably, especially from the front, like the deepest, most defined cuts in his quads while having some of the biggest legs, if not the biggest legs on stage. He was really impressive here. His skin was really thin. He had striations all throughout his upper body and chest. That vascularity was back, but he was still full. He didn't look flat. His color was really good here. I didn't think his color at the Olympia was like the best color suited for his skin tone. But I think he had a really good tan here that really showcased his physique well. And I think now, like I said, I think the conversation is going to be different this time around for Krizo at the Olympia. We could, if his conditioning was significantly better than it is here, you could be talking about Krizo as a first call-out guy. Now that we've seen what a really conditioned Krizo looks like, he's dangerous. And with that conditioning with this size, like I said, it's powerful. So congratulations to Krizo. Congratulations to Andrea Presti taking second here. I thought he looked really good here as well. But I really think the takeaway from this show is Krizo really, really brought it. I was really impressed. And this was not a weak lineup. I thought that first call-out was pretty competitive. All these guys were in really good shape. Some of these guys pretty big. This was by no means an easy lineup for Krizo, but I think he made it look easy because he looked so good. So very impressed, and I think very high hopes for Krizo at the Olympia. Now, next up in the news, we got another recent guest posing from Samson Dauda at the USA Fit Games in Dallas, Texas, weighing 327 pounds at this guest posing. Now, one thing I want to say here is I've been very impressed with the number of appearances and guest posings that Samson has been doing since his Arnold Classic victory. He's really been taking advantage of his moment in the spotlight, and really, he's working hard. This is what a working professional bodybuilder looks like. So yes, we talk over and over again about how impressive his weight is, how impressive his overall shape is while maintaining this really heavy, low to mid 300s weight. But I think we also need to talk about how impressive his work ethic is. He's been doing a lot of appearances, a lot of guest posings, and for a big guy, that's draining. All this travel, all these guest posings, it's draining. It's taxing on the physique. And at all these guest posings, he looks really impressive. And I think it's worth pointing out that a lot of times we get a champion when they're kind of in their moment in the sun and they don't do a bunch of appearances. You don't get to see them very often. They go back, start training, and start putting their head down to focus on the next year's show, start focusing on defending their title. And Samson is really out there kind of giving back to the fans. He's giving the people what they want. He's your 2023 Arnold Classic Ohio champion, and he's coming to the people. And I think that's what we need more of in bodybuilding. Obviously, it's not a requirement. Obviously, it has no real bearing on the placings or determining who wins a show, whether or not they do appearances. But I think from a fan perspective, and that's all I am as a fan, I like to see a bodybuilder go out and do this. He's champion. He just won a massive check at the Arnold Classic, $300,000. He could go home and just focus on training for the Olympia and not do any of this. He doesn't have to do any of this. He's got a great sponsorship deal. He just picked up a ton of prize money. He's set for the year. So I just wanted to take my hat off to Samson for a moment. I think it's really impressive what he's doing with how much he's really getting out there and being active, engaging with the fans. This is what a good ambassador, a working IFBB pro. This is a perfect example of that. Now, next up in the news, we got another physique update from Andrew Jacked. And if we're talking about guys that are really being participative as far as engaging with the fans, Andrew Jacked, he's really been posting a lot of physique updates lately. And now, if he really is doing the Texas Pro, which is what I've heard he's doing, he hasn't officially announced it. He does have to qualify for the Olympia, so we are going to see him compete this year at some point prior to the Olympia. And he's already won the Texas Pro, so it would make sense. If that's the show he's doing, this update would be 9 weeks out for Andrew Jacked. And, you know, it's interesting because we talked about last year's Olympia, the lineup, how crazy it was, how many different guys that were like up-and-coming stars that could have potentially made a really big impact at that Olympia. And I think this year, now you've got all these guys that have made their first Olympia appearance, all these new guys. And now you're seeing them really start to come into their own. Like Samson, he looked better at the Arnold than he did at the Olympia, won the Arnold Classic. Now he's even more hyped going into the Olympia than he was last year. Andrew Jacked, I think, was a lot more competitive at the Arnold than he was at the Olympia. I feel like now, based on these updates and how he's been looking so far, and now that he's with Chris Aceto and Psycho Lewis, with this new team behind him, he, I think, is even more dangerous at the Olympia this year. And I say that because I feel like it's kind of a foregone conclusion that he is going to qualify and get there again in 2023. But I feel like now these new guys are really making a name for themselves and really getting better. This year's Olympia lineup could wind up being even better than last year's, especially we still got to talk about these guys like Good Vito, who's going to be competing in September, trying to qualify for the Olympia, Carlos Thomas Jr. We don't know when he's competing. Both those guys could be in the mix as well. But we've got these guys from last year that everybody was talking about that look even better now and are probably going to look even better this time around at the Olympia now that they've got an Olympia or two under their belts. And Andrew is one of those guys. I feel like he's going to be more dangerous this year, and I feel like he's going to be more in the conversation for a top 6 spot instead of just settling for cracking the top 10. So while I feel like at last year's Olympia we had a lot of really surprising outcomes, I feel like this year things are going to get changed up even more, and I feel like that top 6 could go so many different directions. Like Krizo, we just talked about Krizo, for example. I feel like he's going to be way more in the conversation this year than he was last year. He even told me last year he wasn't even initially planning on doing the Olympia. It was kind of a last-minute decision that he was pressured into and just wound up not doing like a complete prep just for that show. So this year, with a refocused approach and prepping specifically for the Olympia way in advance, I think we're going to see a way more competitive Krizo. I think Andrew Jack, same thing. Samson Dauda, known for these rapid improvements, and we just saw, you know, this incredible Arnold Classic showing from Samson. This is really setting up to be a hell of an Olympia again this year. So that's going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Again, I hope you guys had a great and happy Father's Day. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, click that bell notification icon, all that good stuff. And as always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. my Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power, my secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel, and consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.